Well, I thought I'd do something different with everyone holed up in their house during this crazy season. Um, Everyone being quarantined and all that, looking for something different to do. Now, normally I would put together a video, have a little more control, editing control over it and all that. But anyway, again, thought I'd do something different. So here I am. So I want to talk about a recent incident on an airliner in flight, March 11th, 2020, on a Brussels Airlines in flight. Maybe some of you have seen the video. Really, really chaotic, confusion, challenging situation. Now, obviously, by the time someone picked up a cell phone and started videotaping it, the situation was totally, totally out of control. First of all, let me just say that my heart goes out to airline personnel who are stuck in a confined environment with some people who can really get out of control. Now, in my former career, I would at least have the option of tasering them or pepper spraying them and taking them to jail. But these folks on airliners and all that have a real challenging situation. But having said that, this is we need to be able to learn from each other, and being able to successfully and effectively de-escalate a situation, especially when someone is getting out of control, loud, rude, and obnoxious and all that. That's a skill set that doesn't just come naturally to a lot of people, but it can be learned. Basically, in this situation, apparently a gentleman got upset because his mother or mother-in-law, sitting between two other men, was getting elbowed or something. Apparently, when he expressed his concern, obviously, I have to believe that something wasn't said or done properly to help appease the man or de-escalate the man, and it just absolutely went sideways. And by the time this guy's female companion picked up her phone to start videotaping it, it was just out of control. This, as a matter of fact, when you watch the video, and I'll have the link to it down below and so on, you can actually hear the guy, once the video starts, he's yelling, "You don't put your hands on me. You don't put your hands on me." Folks, when you're trying to de-escalate somebody, the human touch, which is a powerful, powerful tool, beginning when we were babies and all that, the human touch is a powerful tool, but just like any tool, you misuse it, it could come back and bite you in the butt. You got to be very, very careful before you start laying hands and having any type of physical contact with someone who is just out of control. The time to de-escalate a situation is in those first critical moments when the situation is potentially brewing. And this requires having that discipline and situation awareness to recognize that the situation could go sideways. Now, when this guy first initially made a comment to somebody to bring it to his attention or bring it to their attention, and he was upset about something with going on with his mother-in-law, that would have been the time to employ and exercise some de-escalation tools and techniques. First of all, listening, being empathetic and compassionate, looking for options. I have to believe that none of that stuff happened, at least to the degree that it didn't satisfy this man. And again, and obviously at some point somebody laid a hand on him, because when the video starts, he's yelling and upset that someone touched him. And then on top of that, then you hear one of the flight crew telling him to calm down. Never in the history of calm down has anyone ever calmed down when being told to calm down. Saw that on Instagram, I think. I thought it was pretty effective and very true. How many times have you told someone to calm down in a stern, authoritative voice and it actually worked? It's very, very rare. More often than not, you actually get someone get that much more upset and uptight and in your face. Telling someone to calm down, the phrase calm down is a scientifically proven, known trigger phrase, known to more often than not set someone off sideways that much more. And I can tell you from experience, 20 years as a law enforcement officer, that telling someone to calm down is not going to give you the results and the effect that you're looking for. And even what happens also, and you also hear on the video, you hear the lady shooting the video yelling and screaming later on that He touched him first. He touched him first. So now you have an assault. Now in Michigan, I don't know where you're at, but in Michigan, an unwanted touch is considered an assault. So technically, this guy was in violation. This flight attendant was in violation and assaulted this individual by laying a hand on him, even if he meant it to be a gentle, comforting hand on this man to try to get him to simmer down, try to get him to calm down. It blew up in his face. You have to be very, very careful before you start going around touching someone. Again, the human touch is a powerful, powerful tool, but misused, it blow up in your face. So now that this guy is totally, totally out of control, how do you approach a situation like that? We see the female supervisor in red come up and very authoritatively tells him that he's going to have to listen and stop, and she's waving a finger in his face. That is not going to be very effective with someone who is at that level of agitation that this person was at. And here's something else I want to clarify. The definition of conflict de-escalation, what you want to do is you want to lower and reduce that state of agitation, that level of agitation in somebody, so that you can minimize and reduce or eliminate the risk that it becomes a critical, physical, violent incident. This doesn't mean that they're going to end up calm and high-fiving you. It only means that you lower that intensity level so they don't end up hurting you or hurting someone else. When you walk up to someone who's already at that state, waving your finger at them and authoritatively telling them what they are or not going to do is only throwing gas into the fire. That is just going to set that situation. And as you can see in the video, did it work? No. When you come across someone in that state, the safest thing to do, and I think the most effective thing to do, based on my own experiences and observations, is just let them vent. Just let them vent before you even open your mouth to say anything, because you got to realize that at that state of stress and agitation, they are not listening. They cannot listen. Their brain is not going to be able to comprehend anything you say. And you've got to just let them vent. Teamwork could have been utilized in a situation like this, because that video also highlights a very common situation where you have one person that's already upset, interacting with people who are handling the situation wrong, and then you have the person videotaping it, yelling and screaming also, just like this lady was doing. This is where teamwork comes in. Because while the supervisor was handling him and trying to deal with him, at some point, other flight attendants could have come up to start addressing her. Now, I do understand that someone told her to put the phone down and stop recording. And of course, she barked back that it's my right, that I have a right to do this. Yeah, she was correct. What could have happened is someone could have come up and just tried to distract her and try to talk to her, get her point of view, see if there's some way you can get her to simmer down, calm down, and work with you to try to get this individual to calm down. Because as you can see from the video, it doesn't appear that anyone in his party, and he was there with the group, his mother or mother-in-law, and then the woman he was with, who was probably his wife, whatever. But nobody is making an effort to try to get him to calm down and simmer down. And so if you can get someone in that party to ally themselves with you to help you try to de-escalate the situation, you're well on your way to effectively handling that situation. But in this situation, there's no teamwork. And on top of that, everyone seemed to be crowding around this individual in a very enclosed area in this aisle. So now you have the situation who's already been out of shape, and now he's going to feel that much more ganged up on and oppressed by having all these people surround him. And if you'll notice, if you look in that video, people are really up on him. I try to train classes to be very well aware and tell people to maintain what we call a reactionary gap. Now, a reactionary gap is that space between you and the person that you're interacting with. It's a distance of no closer than a few inches beyond your maximum arm reach. So it's not necessarily a set 3 feet, 4 feet, or anything like that. It's going to be different for everyone. Distance will give you time. Time will give you options. What does that mean? That distance will give your brain time to process that someone's closing in on you in a very aggressive, hostile manner, and it may mean you need to take evasive action. And because you had time to process that, now you have options. Do I zig to the right or zag to the left? Distance, that reactionary gap will give you distance, which will give you time, which will give you options. Also, a reactionary gap not only will keep you safe, but it'll also help you stay out of someone's sense of space. So that way you're not violating their safety zone or their sense of space, all right? A whole lot of things here could have been done differently. The initial contact with the gentleman could have obviously been handled differently, I believe. And then once he was completely unhinged, how he was approached and handled could have been handled a little bit differently. I do not know what type of training most flight crews go through, but here we are. We have a lot of good people trying to do the best they can, try to minimize this chaos and confusion, but doing some things wrong. That could have been handled a little bit differently, and there was just no teamwork. Based on my own experiences and observations, I do not believe that anybody can effectively handle a loud, rude, obnoxious person on their own for very long, because once you start getting stressed and you start getting frustrated and impatient, you increase the likelihood that you're going to say or do something that's going to escalate the situation, which is basically what happened with the female, the supervisor. Once she joined this confusion and chaotic situation, she was already stressed, I'm sure, by having had this situation go out of control, her personnel unable to handle it. Now she's stressed. Now she imposes also on herself this added stress of feeling like she has to be the one to solve and resolve the issue because she's the supervisor. And she rolls up in there and tries to take charge, and she's talking to him sternly, and she's waving a finger in his face. And we see what happens. Now, the guy was totally wrong. You cannot act that way and go around spitting on people. He deserved a beat down, but my gosh, it didn't have to get to that point. It didn't have to get to that point. One of the other things that we could try to do when you're dealing with someone like that is you want to try to assume and maintain a non-aggressive body posture, body stance. You don't want to square off on somebody. Stand a little bit, what I call bladed, with a support leg, a foot behind you a little bit. And for you martial artists, you realize it kind of puts you in position, a fighting stance already. Keep your hands in front of you, not waving in someone's face, but keep your hands in front of you in a non-aggressive, non-hostile, non-confrontational manner, but your hands are ready to react and respond in case that person feeling like he's ganged up on and so on. And so you can already sense this pressure cooker feeling. All right, not only are you in an airplane, which is a confined environment already, but now you're getting ganged up on, or you feel like you're being ganged up on by all these people around you. When this person is absolutely this unhinged, again, folks, the best thing to do, the safest thing to do, I think, is just to let them vent. And how many times in your life have you observed, witnessed, or even yourself been so upset and all you needed, or the situation needed, was just for someone to vent? One person to keep their mouth shut. The people who are going to struggle with de-escalating a situation are those who feel like they have to get the last word in, have to win, have to get their point across. Oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, what someone needs to do is just keep their mouth shut and let the other person vent. As challenging as it is, let the other person vent and let it burn out. And then you can try to rationalize with them. Because while they're totally unhinged like that, you're not going to be able to successfully rationalize with an irrational person. So folks, as I conclude, let me just once again remind you, as I teach my classes, your ACE, your appearance, your communication, your engagement in the moment is absolutely critical. And if you're aware of your ACE and in control of it, you have the discipline and awareness to be aware of your ACE. You don't look like a threat. You don't sound like a threat. As you interact with someone who's beginning to get upset and all that, you are more likely than not, based on my 20 years experience, more likely than not to be able to effectively de-escalate a situation. ACE, ACE, appearance, communication, and engagement. I'll have some links to my webpage and to some more videos and so on that we do. Like I said, this is the very first time I've done a video like this. Normally, we go and shoot videos at training seminars, and then I edit it and put it together just to give people an idea of what training seminars look like with my team and I. So on that note, stay healthy, stay safe.